He laughed. Not the soft, playful kind of laugh you share with someone you love. The loud kind. The kind meant for an audience. She doesn't need to make money, he said, grinning at his friends. I'll handle everything. She'd probably skip rent without me. And they laughed. And I laughed too. Because sometimes smiling hurts less than crying in public. But that night? Something inside me shifted. And by the end of it, he wasn't laughing anymore. I've always been proud of paying my own bills. It's not glamorous. It's not flashy. I work in admin. It's stable. Predictable. Reliable. Every paycheck feels earned. I don't post about it. I don't brag about it. But I paid my rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, everything, since I was old enough to sign a lease. My boyfriend, Mark, works in tech sales. He makes more than I do. A lot more some months. It never bothered me. Until he made it everyone's entertainment. We were at dinner with two of his friends, guys I barely knew. Loud personalities. Competitive energy. The kind of men who measure worth in watches and car models. The restaurant was dim, warm lighting. Wine glasses clinking. Low music humming in the background. The conversation drifted from promotions, to bonuses, to salaries. I felt it coming. One of his friends turned to me. So what do you do? I smiled politely. I work in administrative support at a medical office. It wasn't flashy. But I said it confidently. Because I was proud of it. That's when Mark laughed. She doesn't want to make money in this relationship, he said casually, leaning back in his chair. The table laughed. I felt heat crawl up my neck. I forced a smile. It's just a joke, I told myself. Then he added. Don't worry. I've got the finances covered. She'd probably forget to pay rent if I wasn't around. More laughter. My stomach tightened. I laughed too. Because what else do you do when your partner turns you into the punchlines? It wasn't just the joke. It was how he said it. Like I was a dependent. Like I was a burden he graciously carried. Like my existence was financially charitable. And the worst part? It wasn't even true. He doesn't pay my rent. He doesn't cover my bills. We split dinners most of the time. He's never once supported me financially. But in that moment, he painted himself as my hero. And me as the helpless girl lucky to have him. Then came the bill. He grabbed it dramatically. I'll pay. She needs to save for rent. More laughter. I felt my throat tighten. I wanted to say something. I wanted to say, actually, I make sure my rent is paid on the first of every month without fail. But instead? I said, thanks. And I excused myself. I'm not feeling well. That was true. Because humiliation makes you physically sick. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before driving home. My hands were shaking. Not from anger. From realization. He enjoyed that. He liked looking superior. He liked them thinking he had financial control. My phone buzzed. Mark. Why did you leave like that? You embarrassed me. It was obviously a joke. Embarrassed him. I stared at that message for a long time. The irony. He reduced me to a financial charity case in front of his friends. But I embarrassed him by quietly leaving? That's when something inside me went very, very calm. And calm is more dangerous than anger. That night wasn't isolated. Once I thought about it, I saw the pattern everywhere. Little comments. Good thing I handle the serious stuff. You're cute when you try to talk finance. You don't have to worry about money, that's my job. I used to interpret them as protective. Now I saw them as diminishing. He didn't want a partner. He wanted an audience. And I had been clapping along. The next week, he invited me to another dinner. Same friends. I said yes. Not because I forgave him, but because I had decided something. If he wanted to perform, I'd let him perform. Fully. We arrived. Same energy. Same loud personalities. Drinks came. Conversations flowed. And right on cue. "So how's the admin life?" one friend smirked. I smiled softly. "It's stable. I actually just got approved for my own lease renewal without a cosigner." Mark laughed. "See? Independent woman." But I noticed something. He looked at me before laughing. Checking my reaction. I smiled wider. "Oh, and I started investing too." The table paused. "Investing?" one of them asked. "Yeah. Nothing huge. Just slow, consistent growth. I prefer stability." I didn't look at Mark. But I could feel him stiffen. Because investing? That's his territory. Over the next few weeks, I made changes quietly. I stopped letting him pay for dinners. I insisted on splitting everything. When he joked about covering me, I responded lightly. "Actually, I've got it." Publicly. Every time. And each time I saw it. That flicker in his eyes. Confusion. I started dressing sharper at gatherings. Speaking more confidently. Sharing small wins from work. Nothing dramatic. Just visible. He stopped making jokes. Because jokes don't land when the target doesn't shrink. Then came the final dinner. This time, one of his friends had just gotten a promotion. Big celebration energy. Drinks. Applause. Loud stories. At some point, the conversation drifted back to money. And like a reflex, one friend smirked at Mark. "So you still bankrolling your girl?" There it was. The moment. Mark chuckled automatically. But before he could speak, I did. "Oh no," I said gently. "We actually split everything. I've always paid my own bills." The table went quiet. I kept my tone light. Calm. Almost amused. "I think the joke got misunderstood last time." I looked at Mark and smiled. "Right?" His face changed. Not dramatically. Just enough. Because now he had two choices. Double down and look like a liar. Or admit the truth. He cleared his throat. "Yeah. It was just a joke." One friend laughed awkwardly. "Oh, we thought you were serious." I tilted my head playfully. Why would he be? Silence. And then? They changed the subject. Later that night, when the bill came, I reached for it first. "I've got my part." Mark didn't argue. He didn't joke. He just nodded. And something shifted permanently in that moment. The power imbalance he tried to create? Gone. Because humiliation only works when the other person accepts it. And I stopped accepting it. On the drive home, he was quiet. Then he said, "You didn't have to correct them like that." I stared ahead. I didn't correct them. I clarified. "You made it seem like I was lying." "You were." Silence. And then he said the words that confirmed everything. "I was just trying to look good." There it was. Not protecting me. Not joking. Performing. At my expense. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just realized something very simple. If someone needs you to look small so they can feel big, they are not your partner. They are your competitor. And I don't date competitors. I ended things a week later. Calmly. No drama. He tried to convince me I was overreacting. But overreaction is leaving loudly. I left quietly. And that's what bothered him most. The most satisfying part? It wasn't their awkward faces. It wasn't him backtracking. It wasn't the silence at the table. It was me. Sitting there. Shoulders relaxed. Voice steady. Not shrinking. Not laughing at myself to make others comfortable. For the first time, I didn't feel small. And he did. Because when you refuse to play the role someone assigns you, they're forced to see you differently. And sometimes, they don't like that version. But that's not your problem. Sometimes revenge isn't dramatic. It isn't explosive. Sometimes it's just refusing to let someone rewrite your story in front of an audience. And the moment you stop laughing at disrespect is the moment everything changes. If this story hit a little too close to home, drop a comment below. Have you ever been the joke in someone else's performance? And if you believe self-respect is the most powerful comeback, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to Story X Daily for more real stories where silence speaks louder than revenge. Because sometimes, the best payback is walking away.